So welcome to my explanation series. As I've said in the previous episode, I use TrackMan a lot, and there's three key bits of information that I look at. First, from a coaching point of view, angle of attack, which we talked about previously. Second one I really focus in on is club path. So what we mean by the path of the club is what that club is doing or how that club is moving relative to the ball to target line. So if we think about this yellow cross here for a second, in the middle of the mat, running through to our target, how does that club move relative to that ball to target line? So we have three possibilities. The club can either be moving from inside the target line to outside, what we call along it, so square to square we talk about. So that club is moving along that yellow line, and from outside the target line to inside. TrackMan's measuring club path from about a foot behind the ball. If we put the ball down here for a second, so it's measuring about the length of this yellow line here, so about a foot behind the ball to a foot in front. And depending on what kind of shot we're trying to play, that determines what kind of path we're trying to produce. So one of the common misconceptions is that we're looking for a zero path. Most good players are trying to play some form of shape. So if you're trying to play a draw or a hook, for instance, you'll need a club path moving from in to out. If you're trying to play a fade or a little bit of a slice, then you'll need a path moving from out to in. So it really depends what kind of shot you're trying to play. What we're really looking for is, for most kind of relatively neutral flighted shots, there'll be a path. I talk about, the tour players are generally, for most of them, are plus or minus 1.5 degrees, so either side of zero. You can play some pretty good golf plus or minus 4 or 5 degrees. So we've got a relatively large channel that we can have that club moving along. It's just, if you're going too far away from it, too far from in to out or too far from out to in, you're going to have an enormous amount of shape or work to do to get your ball to finish back on the target. In terms of the numbers of TrackMan, an in to out path for a right-handed player would be a positive, neutral would be 0.0, and out to in would be a negative. Obviously those numbers are reversed for a left-handed player, but just to give you some kind of context, if you're trawling the internet at the moment, looking at videos, that's what those numbers mean. So really interesting. If you haven't done already, I coach with TrackMan, and so most of my students know their numbers. And it's not overly important that you know your numbers, but it's trying to work with your coach to make sure that you try and improve them and get them moving in the right direction. So that's club path explained.